Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more slug testing, and today we've got another one that we've never tested before, and it's a very interesting thought process at that, because this is definitely a pretty different type of slug to a lot of the stuff we've tested, so I'm really curious to see how it actually can perform. But for the shells I brought out here today, I got some of the Brenneke TKO Non-Toxic 12 gauge slugs. They are a 12 gauge, 2 3/4 inch, 2/3 ounce, which they're saying is 293 grains, moving about 2,001 feet per second is what the box claims. I don't know why they picked that number over just saying 2,000, but I don't know. Brenneke is pretty specific on their things. And these are definitely some pretty interesting slugs because they are a Sabot slug, but they say that you can use them from a smoothbore or a rifled barrel. And they say they act just like any other lead rifled slug, but they're non-toxic, some kind of a tin alloy. And I can tell you right now, these are some of the lightest weight shotgun slug shells that I've ever felt. But they are a Sabot round. And at lighter weight, they're moving at 2,000 feet per second, so I really don't know how they're going to do, especially through today's setup. And here's what one of those shells looks like out of the box. You have a really high brass shell. I mean, it's getting up close to half of that shell is just brass, but it's the typical standard Brenneke shaped slug. It's just this really shiny, really super lightweight, apparently tin type of material, but it is in a Sabot, so we'll see how it does. But it's definitely a very kind of interesting and weird design with them being that lightweight and being what they're made out of. And as for the setup we've got to run them through today, I brought out my Remington 870 special purpose with an 18.5 inch fully rifled barrel, and up on top here is a loopholed VX1 2-7x28, and this is pretty much my slug gun. It does have a fully rifled barrel, and it says on the box that those can be shot through a smoothbore with any choke or a fully rifled barrel, and they are a Sabot round, so I figured we'll start off with the rifled barrel here and see what we get, and then we may eventually try them through a smoothbore as well, just to see what happens, since they apparently claim that they can be shot through that as well. So as for today's test, everything is set up the same as usual. I don't have a ton of these shells, so we gotta make do a little bit with what I do have. So we're gonna shoot a 3-shot group at 50 yards and another 3-shot group at 100 yards. It's not a perfect test, but it's what I've got, and it'll at least give us somewhat of an idea of if these are pretty decent or if they're complete junk. Brenneke makes a lot of really good shells, but it seems like sometimes when they branch out into some of these little bit stranger ideas, they really drop the ball on them. So I don't know how these are going to do. So I guess enough talking. Let's get you guys set up with a view of the target and the chronograph and stuff like that, and shoot these few groups and just see what these TKO non-toxic tin slugs can actually do. Alright, so let's look at our chronograph numbers here real quick. And the chronograph was definitely being very particular about these slugs for whatever reason. Yeah, Sabot slugs can be a little tricky sometimes to chronograph, but these ones were kind of all over the board. I tried it right up within a foot or two of the muzzle. I tried it at 5 feet, 7 feet, 10 feet, didn't matter. I think we got one actual number though that was clearly not this 5,500 feet per second, that's for sure. The box claim is 2,001 feet per second. Now we do have an 18.5 inch barrel, so I do not expect to see that 2001, but that 1,859 number right there, I do believe that is correct based on how this shorter barrel typically acts. Normally it's about 200-ish feet per second under the box claim, and considering Brenneke is pretty accurate with their box claims, that number right there is very realistic. So here is all your energy numbers and stuff based on that one particular 1,859 feet per second reading. It's not a perfect average or anything, but I think that's the only good number that we had. Either way, that's still not a terrible number for a velocity considering our barrel length here. So now let's move over to our actual target and see what kind of accuracy these were able to give us. Alright, so now let's take a look at our targets and see how accurate these actually were. Now, Brenneke, surprisingly enough, has no accuracy claim as far as an actual number on that box, like they typically do. It just says that they're highly accurate. So we'll start over on the left target there, which was our 50-yard 3-shot group, and it looks pretty good. It's not the round that my gun is zeroed with, but for a group, that's not bad. You had 2 of them just about touching, and the left one just a touch farther over. So let's measure it and see what that group gave us. Alright, so that 50-yard group gave us 1.06 inches, and that is from the center of that left hole to the center of that top hole. So 1.06 at 50 yards, yeah, that is plenty good enough. That's a pretty nice looking performance there for a slug gun all day long. It's not quite 3 in the same hole, but that is realistically about as close as you can get to 3 in the same hole with most slug guns. So 50 yards, looking pretty nice there. Now we'll move over to the target on the right, which was our 100-yard group, which still doesn't look that bad. Now, I did take the first 2 shots, which were these 2 up here, and then we hit this one down low. I felt okay about the trigger pull, but considering what we saw at 50, I decided for the sake of doing it, I'll take one more shot to see what happens, which was this hole down here, and I think this 3-shot group is the actual realistic group. I think more than likely that one down there was probably me. Now, I will measure both the group with that one little flyer down there and just the 3 shots up here, and I'll give you both numbers so you can actually take whatever number that you would like out of that. But still, not terrible overall. But let's measure it and see what it gave us. Alright, so the group from the first 3 shots with that little bit of a flyer gave us 3.90, and that is from that top hole to that bottom flyer. So let's measure this group and see what that one gave us, because I think that is the actual realistic group here. Alright, and that part of the group gave us 1.93 inches. So yeah, considering I truly believe this 3 shots right here is our actual group, just under 2 inches at 100 yards, I'll take that all day long for a slug gun. That's going to absolutely be a hammer out in the deer woods, without a doubt. So overall here, considering that this is another one of Brenneke's kind of interesting oddball theory kind of thought process, with them being a tin alloy, kind of Sabot that you can run through choked barrels and smooth bores and stuff like that, I didn't quite know how these were going to do coming into it, since Brenneke's kind of all over the board sometimes with their weird slugs. But these ones seem to work out pretty nicely. I don't think I can complain too much about that. Now, I would be curious as to how they would actually perform on a deer though, being how lightweight they are. I mean, it's still 290 something grains, which isn't a lightweight projectile, but they are tin, so that would be pretty interesting to try. Either way, for accuracy, I'll take that all day long for a slug gun. Alright, and here are the wad/sabots out of there. I did happen to find all of them, and they all look exactly identical. So we'll take a look at this one here, and it is pretty interesting because it looks kind of like a sabot. It feels very stiff like a sabot. It's got these ridges on the top to kind of lock in your projectile like a sabot, but the base of it here is much more like a standard wad with the little gas cushion piece and stuff. So definitely a very interesting design here, and a little bit different than a lot of their other sabot designs and stuff that we typically see. But there's nothing abnormal about it. You can see how each one of these pedals is the slightest little bit twisted, so we know we had good engagement in the rifling. You can see the stripes up and down the sides there, and it was definitely spinning as it exited the barrel, and the slugs were flying perfectly stable through the paper. So everything looks very much normal here, and these did hold up just fine to a rifled barrel. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about those results right there? For being one of Brenneke's kind of oddball slug ideas with that non-toxic, tin, lightweight slug, I didn't really know what to expect coming into it, especially seeing that it was a Sabot slug and they claimed that you could shoot them out of a smoothbore choked barrel and a rifled barrel. We've seen some very weird results out of some of Brenneke's kind of strange ideas like that before, but these ones actually did just fine. I mean, considering that we were at 1 inch at 50 yards and just under the 2-inch mark at 100 without that one little flyer, I'll take that all day long. But I definitely would be curious to see how these would actually perform on a deer. Sure, they're 290 something grains, moving at, out of my setup, about 1850 feet per second or so. So you're gonna still be hitting them with a good amount of energy, but I don't know if that tin's gonna hold its shape or deform or anything. So I don't know, maybe we bring them out here and do some water jug testing with them or something to see how they actually perform. Let me know if that's something you guys want to see. But as always, leave all your your thoughts in the comments. Is that about what you expected out of these? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of the Brenneke TKO non-toxic slugs? And if so, what kind of results have you seen from them? And have you hunted with those? And if so, how did they actually perform? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description if you're interested in it. But I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.